You've got to think of minimum fee clause is as well. Found that harder to say.
Yeah. Do you want to start again?
Minimal. No, forget it. I'm not starting again.
Oh, that's the start of the podcast right there. Welcome to the Side Foot Pass podcast. I'm Adrian, along with my co-host Mike.
Hello.
We host a weekly football show sharing our insights and opinions with special guests throughout the season. In this week's episode, we go over some key matches from last week and see how our predictions fared. So, Mike went with us last week. Welcome back.
Thanks. It's good to be back, I think.
You think? Well, yeah, me and Jack thought it was because the Everton score, but no, you're back. You're back.
Yes.
You redeemed yourself this week.
I was well aware of that when I listened to it back.
Yeah, so there's a few things I'd like to go over this week, key matches wise, and one of those is the Everton match, which we can either start with if you like, if you want to go straight into that, the nice 3-2 win over Wolves at Goodison Park.
We can go straight into that if you want. I don't even know if I would say nice win. Yeah, we got 3 points. Yeah, we scored a few goals. Yeah, we let a couple in. I don't know, for me it wasn't the most exciting game, I've got to be honest. I sat here watching it. We got the winner and I went, yay. I don't know, I don't enjoy the way we're playing football at the minute, regardless of the result. I
watched it live as well, and I think you really did benefit that Wolves really weren't on the game this time round, but I still felt that with Delph's introduction to the centre midfield, I thought he played a really good game and was the guy that get the ball, smash it out the wings and try for the best. I think you kind of, as soon as Bernard came on down the left wing, it seemed a lot better. I'm not sure if you think maybe he should have started.
Well, we need to try and fit the new guys in somehow. So somebody was going to have to be dropped. I think he will be able to get tried on both wings eventually. I think he switched during the game. Delph got man of the match or player of the match, king of the match, whatever you want to now call it.
Yeah, changes with whatever the sponsor's called this week.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, why they don't just go man of the match because it was a man, and when it's women's football, go woman of the match. You know, it's that simple.
Yes.
But whatever.
That would be a lot easier.
It would, yeah. But anyway, my issue with Everton at the minute, they play it like we probably play FIFA co-op. It's they play it out wide and they try and get crosses in and go for headers a lot. Whereas every other team in the Premiership is trying to play nice, tippy-tappy football and play through the middle and create openings. And that's not how we play. And it's infuriating to see us have so much of the ball to just knock it out wide and just cross it into the box and see it cleared. Without any end results, hardly.
Yeah, I get what you mean, but I also thought with FIFA you were going to say that we always lose, but yeah.
We don't always lose.
No?
Just
9 times out of 10.
9% of the time.
I thought the game for you was okay. I mean, you needed that win being at home. Looking on in a couple of weeks' time and then now going to the international break, you are away at Bournemouth. Again, you'll definitely want a result there because you're up there on the table already after week 4. You haven't had a terrible start.
No, we haven't had a terrible start. I don't know, maybe I'm just used to being disappointed over the years. If we were top, I'd still probably find something to moan about. I'm a very unbiased fan. I kind of try and say what I see. I'm just not happy with the final third at the minute.
Yeah. Well, I like you said, you've got a bed in, haven't you? So I think maybe with this 2-week break, anyone that isn't on international duty have the extra time to, mould together as a team, don't they? So
hopefully, yeah, bit of team bonding.
Well, another key match I wanted to look at was Chelsea and the Sheffield match, which ended in a 2-2 draw, which was quite a surprise, I think, for everyone, especially at home, Chelsea's home ground, that is Stamford Bridge. Abraham got two more goals to his tally, so he's now the top scorer for Chelsea this season. the shocking thing was it was 2-0 at half-time to Chelsea. They looked comfortable. A couple of counter-attacks and Sheffield got one back, and then towards the latter half of the whole match, they managed to come back at a 2-2 draw. So, what did you think of that one?
Well, I think we've all said, I don't know about Jack, but certainly yourself, me, and our other guest, Matt, we've all, I think, expected Sheffield United to go down before we started the season and the podcast. And I think we've all said during the podcast that they've surprised us. They certainly play without fear, and as a team, they're like, we're in the Prem, we're going to have a go, we want to stay here. Don't know how long it's going to last, but hats off to them. They've started really, really well.
It's great, and hopefully it continues. And they've gone against a few difficult opponents. It's not as if they've had easier setups. And later on in the season, say match 26, and they know that they've got that point against Chelsea, it could make all the difference. Against these big six that are still finding their feet. These scraping points really might really benefit them at the end of the season, which would be really good to see as the season develops.
But it's quite a different Chelsea side, isn't it? He's trying to do a bit of an Ole Gunnar, and he's going for youth by the looks of it, Chelsea. They may struggle for a season or two because of it, but I think in the long run they will benefit from it if they stick with Frank Lampard, that is.
Yeah, I think they've got to at least give it till the end of this season. He's trying new things. There's different people in the squad that are younger, so I hope they do improve, because you want to see these younger based teams show that English football warrants the respect it deserves. So.
Well, you've got the issue with Brexit coming up still, so that might be a reason why they're trying what they're trying, to future-proof themselves, just in case work permits and such become an issue around Europe. So it could be good forward thinking from them. And as long as the chairman understands what Lampard's trying to do with Chelsea, then he should give him the time. But he's also very well known for, if we're not getting immediate success, you're out the window and I'll bring another manager in.
Yeah, which it's not good for the players, is it? You need that. I mean, any job that you were in, if you had a boss, manager, whoever they are, and they keep changing, you're going to unsettle whatever kind of line of work. You're going to be unsettled. You might not perform as well. Someone else comes in, tells you to do something else, and you've just got used to the tactical formation. It's unsettling. I don't think it's good for anyone if you sack them.
It's hard to earn respect as well with the manager. It's not the manager's fault, but if you keep changing the manager, for me, you've got to earn that respect, not just give it them on day one. These team bonding things that are done for things like that. And as they start to gel together, but they're still not quite getting the results, you then change the manager, you're back at square one again, aren't you? Yeah,
and you need to keep that bedded in, because they need to be tactically aware. They need to know that if they push up, someone's covering their back. If someone else comes in, they change the tactical precision of the game. Is it going to flow as well? So, yeah, I really don't think anyone should be sacked during the season. I think it really... it's always good for the media hype, isn't it? But as a fan, sometimes there's too much blame on managers. So I really hope that doesn't happen with Frank, and hope that Chelsea do pick themselves up.
Well, yeah, with the best will in the world, you can do whatever you want Monday to Friday, but then come Saturday afternoon and you've picked your 11, it's pretty much up to that 11 that's on the field at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Managers do get unfairly, I'm not sure what the right word is for it, punished.
Yeah, I think they do. And really, once you give them that tactical know-how, unless it's obvious that Sheffield United, for example, because we just spoke about them, against Chelsea, and as Sheffield you put 3 at the back, 3 up the front, and you're just trying to push for a goal rather than you should be laying back because you are going to get outplayed. That's a bad tactical decision. So then you can't really blame it on the players. But if the tactics look all right, the formation's correct, it is down to the players. The manager can't control the people on the pitch. It's not FIFA.
It's funny you bring that up as an example, because I think that's what Sheffield United did in the first half, was sat back and showed Chelsea a bit too much respect, just on the name that it's Chelsea, without actually considering the 11 that were in front of them.
Yeah, but then it comes into, as soon as it went into the second half, he'd obviously sorted that out, and they'd now equalised by the end of the match. They got two goals as well, so that shows also, I think, good tactical knowledge from the manager.
Yeah, they're definitely an exciting team to watch anyway at the moment. I want to keep an eye on.
Yes, I definitely want to watch the matches as well. So, moving on to a third match that I thought was a key match, was another 2-2 draw, which was Arsenal and Spurs at the Emirates Stadium. I watched this game, and as a neutral from this point of view, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was end-to-end football. It was fast-paced. The first half, it could have gone to anyone, really. And again, from previous weeks, Spurs really lacked in the second half. They got tired because they play really fast football, and Arsenal really were the better of the two. They had 26 shots, 8 on target, and compared to Spurs, which was 13 shots, 9 on target. And I think Arsenal really did deserve to win it, and I do think the Arsenal centre-backs seem, I don't know, they're not having great performances over these last 4 weeks, especially David Luiz. I think week 1 we said 8 mil's an absolute bargain for this guy, which probably still is, but his performance has not been great at all.
This is the only game I haven't seen this weekend out of all the fixtures. I did expect it.
It's definitely one you need to see.
Well, I expected it to be a 0-0 bore draw, but I did say it could end up being like a 4-4 classic. I mean, it wasn't quite 4-4, but it sounds like it was a good game from what I have heard about it. As for David Luiz, I can't say for this week, but yeah, he has underperformed so far from the previous weeks that I've seen him play.
And one interesting fact from that particular derby, because it's the North London derby, is that Tottenham have dropped 42 points from any winning position against Arsenal, which is 11 more than any other Premier League side, which should have put a bet on that, really. As soon as they went ahead, they'd lose points, but hey, there we go. Is there any other matches from the last week that you'd really like to cover?
Not in great depth, no. I think we've covered the key team, really, Everton, so I'm all good with that.
The key team.
Says he is not the biased fan.
Yeah. So for predictions for week 5, we will put this in a separate episode to break it up, because we are now going into the international break. We're going to concentrate a bit of time on the England team, as we are both English and this is based in England, so that's what we're going to do. I mean, if there's future teams people want us to concentrate on, then send in your suggestions on Twitter, SidefootPassPod, and of course we will do our best to try and do that in future ones, because there will be other international breaks, and every time it happens, I know Mike especially gets annoyed because nothing happens for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, do we have to cover England?
You didn't even have to say anything. You just have to moan.
Every time I watch an England game, I fall asleep. I don't really know what else to say.
Oh no, but I agree. I think previous ones have been a bit of a bore on the England point of view, but I think with his younger squad and the interesting people that have been brought in, especially this time round from Southgate, especially one that was a surprise to a lot of people, but I said to Jack off the podcast when he got signed that, I bet Mings will he'll get brought up in the England squad in the next couple of years, and it was a lot quicker than I thought, and I think he was gobsmacked as well. He thought, when he got the call, he thought it was a joke, and I mean, he has played well, which is good, and I don't know whether he'll be put on, because we've also got James Maddison from Leicester, who we keep going on about his playmaking ability. and also Mason Mount, who's had a really good start to the season with Chelsea. So, I mean, have you looked through the squad? Is anyone you surprised at, and what do you think the starting lineup will be on the first game here, which is going to be against Bulgaria on the 7th of September?
Well, that's the first thing I was going to bring up. If you look at the opposition that we've got in the next couple of games, why not bring in people like Mings and give them a run out?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, Bulgaria from the Group A squad, they've played four and they've lost two, drawn two, so they've only got 2 points. And yes, they probably are quite a poor team in respects to the likes of the higher class of international football. But like you said, I do think hopefully they will give them their first cap. Whether then they use them in future is up to them. So I think they really, if they want to stay in the squad, they've really got to perform on their first game. So whether that is Mings, Maddison, and Mount all start in that first one, it'll be interesting to watch.
Well, it gives them a taste, doesn't it? If nothing else, just having them there in the squad. To be fair, just gives them a taste of what international football could be like for them in the future if they keep the head down and keep performing for the clubs the way they have been doing. He does try and pick people on form rather than names, which I do prefer. I've always preferred. I used to hate it when we'd pick Lampard and Gerrard and Rooney, and just because of the names and because normally they are good players, but they've been playing rubbish recently for the clubs. But because they're them, we'll pick them. I used to hate it when we did that. So it is nice to see other names in there and younger lads that are playing well for the clubs at the minute.
Yeah, I agree. The only anomaly. The only anomaly I have is with that, because I think he does do the form. Anyone that's playing well in club football, he'll try and put them forward. A surprise for me was not bringing in Ashley Barnes, who's had, I think, 17 goals in the Premier League since the start of the season. Well, not the start of the season, the start of the year, sorry.
I was going to say, I know he scored a few, but he's started quite well, hasn't he? In quite an average side, no offence to Burnley fans. I'm surprised Callum Wilson got called up, to be fair, because he hasn't started too well this season, but did well at the back end of last season. So yeah, maybe that could have been the other way around.
Yes, yeah, I was just about to say that maybe Barnes should have been there instead, but I put something on Twitter, but I mean, it's probably different, but the best goalkeeper we've got at the moment is probably Pickford, but it could be Heaton as well. Quite a few different choices in any role. I think everyone that's here except for maybe Sterling, who has had a really good start to the season, they are all at the same level, except for obviously Harry Kane up front. Oxlade-Chamberlain is now back in after a long injury, and he hasn't played for England since Italy back in March 2018. You might put him on for a half an hour, something like that. They might put on Mount or Maddison for 60 minutes and then bring him in, or vice versa. So I'm sure they'll use all their subs up, and hopefully we have an impressive win. But the last two times England and Bulgaria met was 2010 and 2011, and we won 4-0 and 3-0 respectively. So hopefully we don't concede, but I can't see England losing this particular game unless they, again, do some tactical nightmare. But I assume they do the same tactics, whether it's Kane up front, Sterling up front, or anyone, because they just use the same 4-3-3, don't they, particularly usually?
Is it not a 3-5-1-1? I'm not so sure.
Well, I think with Sancho, Kane and Sterling, I think it'll look like a 4-3-3, but they'll have two wingers. I don't know whether they'll start with a couple of strong people to make sure they get a few goals. It'll be interesting. One of the interesting things was the first time Bulgaria met England was in June 1962, and it was a 0-0. So you never know; it could go all the way back to the 60s and just be a boring 0-0.
Well, it is England,
but
that's possible.
That is true. Although so far in the league we've scored 10 goals and only had one against us. But again, we've only played two games, where some of the other international teams have played more. Yeah, the other one for the international break is on the 10th of September. It's England versus Kosovo. Both of these matches are live on ITV, so pretty much anyone with a TV that can watch it, which is a lot better than Sky and BT Sport sometimes, but you get what you pay for, I suppose.
Yeah, there's a reason it's free. Moving on.
Yeah, there's a reason why you have to pay for it, because it's a lot better. But I think Kosovo, I think, will be a slight more challenge for the side, so they might bring in more experienced people to make sure we can try and get that result. Kosovo are currently third in that Group A.
Have you got who Kosovo beat? Because I'm really surprised that they've won a game. I would have said Bulgaria with the harder team out of the two, to be fair. But they've not won a single game. Either way, you're looking at 4-5-0 for both games, surely.
Well, you'd really hope so, yeah.
And the goal difference will be ridiculous.
Kosovo drew against Bulgaria 1-1. That was back in March. They also drew 1-1 with Montenegro. And then
beat the Czech Republic?
Bulgaria again.
Oh, they played Bulgaria.
And they beat them.
Okay.
So they've gained the points from the weakest teams. So the strongest of the weakest three, which is Kosovo, Montenegro and Bulgaria, I believe. And we did beat Czech Republic 5-0. So I think we're definitely going to win the group. You just don't want to lose a match because you want to win all these, because they shouldn't be difficult opponents for England, should they?
No, not at all. Walk in the park.
It should be. And maybe they won't even put Pickford in.
No, I want Pickford to play.
Oh, because so he gets injured, yeah?
Yeah, so he gets injured and doesn't have to play for us anymore. Although at the same time, I don't want him to get picked because his head's big enough as it is already.
The Saturday one I might watch. The Tuesday one I will be unable to watch because I'll be talking into this microphone at the time. I would really like him to put a fresh-faced team in just to show that the depth that we can have. We see a lot of goals and a dominant performance rather than a 1-0 win, which scares everyone for 80 minutes, which usually happens in England matches.
That's why they're normally boring as well.
Covering a bit of news this week. Earlier today, which we record this on a Tuesday, there was some discussion about realigning the transfer window to be in line with Europe. So lots of big teams, including Liverpool, Man City, I believe. I could be wrong, but the bigger teams were like, yes, we definitely need to cut off it earlier to make sure the transfer window stops before we start our games. And now they're backtracking, which I believe I spoke to Jack about in the podcast last week. This exact thing of people are going to start trying to get players from teams while they can't do anything about it. They can't re-recruit. And the window shuts at the beginning of the season, but you can still lose one of your top players to a European club, couldn't you? So I think they're pushing for a new vote.
Theoretically, God, I said that correctly. Yeah, that could happen. It's unlikely to happen, but it is a possibility. We used to have a later transfer deadline, which I think was the same around Europe. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think it was a similar time, yeah.
Why we changed it, I don't know. Why we changed it and nobody else did, I don't know. Why we changed it, but people can still buy our players, even though we're effectively closed, I don't know.
Yeah, I found that really peculiar this year. I thought, if we can't buy anyone, then no one else can buy your own things. I imagine you can still loan people like you always have been able to, but it didn't make sense. I think if we were back to normal, people like Wilfried Zaha to Everton might have that gone through if they had that extra time. With Christian Eriksen from a couple of weeks ago saying, right, I'm definitely want a new challenge in June, would he have gone, well, I can definitely move because I've still got 2 weeks to get someone to buy me. So, these kind of transactions could have happened and also we also don't know what Eriksen's behaviour is now, whether he's fully professional or he's saying, oh, I really want to leave now. They should have sold me in the summer.
It's a tough one, isn't it, really? I certainly do agree with the transfer deadline should be done and dusted before game one. But if other countries want to continue their transfer deadline, then I'm all right with that also. But that then should mean that they can't buy players from people in the UK because our transfer window is closed. So that should also mean we can't sell because otherwise it's still a transfer.
Well, yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's a transfer out, but it's still a transfer. And the transfer, in inverted commas, window is closed.
Even if they didn't realign it with Europe, they should have a total block, like you said, of we're closed, no one in and out until January. One or the other, shouldn't it? You can't have a bit of both of, yeah, okay, you can't buy anyone, but people could leave you in the lurch for the next 3 months.
Yeah, you're going to have to wait till January to replace your top striker or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, and it only takes someone to totally kick off of, if Zaha had really kicked off and decided to go to a European club instead, he could have left last week. And, that's Crystal Palace's probably main threat, really.
You've got to think of minimum fee clause as well. Found that harder to say.
Yeah. Do you want to start again?
Minimal. No, forget it. I'm not starting again.
Oh, that's the start of the podcast right
there. Compose. You've got to think about that. If somebody's got that in the contract and our transfer window's shut, say Harry Kane's got one, but it's like 200 million, so they think nobody's going to pay 200 million, and then Real Madrid go, yeah, there's 200 million. No, Tottenham are without Harry Kane now for the next few months.
Yeah, you've got to be wary of that, and I hope that doesn't become an issue. And I'm sure big money players have a huge release clause, don't they? So, but yeah, I think it was just interesting that.
I know they do an FM if that counts for anything.
Oh yeah, well, football is basically FM, isn't it? So, yeah, I just thought it was interesting that everyone moaned about that they should change, and they've all backtracked now. They see it. So, also, will they do that with VAR? I didn't cover it this week because I thought we'd have a week off of trying to slate VAR.
You don't need to try and slate it; it slates itself.
Yeah. I think the only thing is, from speaking to Jack last week, he did bring a point of, they are trying to make it fair and down the middle, but it's all these bits that we see as a fan that we go, well, that was a penalty. How can you get that wrong? Like, we've looked at it and we think it is, especially when we're fans of football. Obviously, we support a specific team, but if we see something that should have been a penalty, regardless who it is, we still moan about it like, that's not correct.
Well, I know you said you don't want to cover it this week, but you did ask me earlier, is there another game I would have liked to have covered this week?
Oh, yeah. Come on.
I'm going to match the two together. Aston Villa. I'll let you continue.
The greatest team of all time?
That's not what I wanted you to continue with. Carry on.
No, you can go through it, What was your opinions on it?
It was a penalty. Was it not?
He puts it on a lot because that's what Grealish does. Yeah, I definitely think it was a penalty, and he just got yellowed for diving, didn't he?
It was a nice step over to the side through two players. He got his leg caught. The referee didn't give it. Why didn't it go to VAR? Because the referee's already made a decision. Well, then why the hell is VAR even here then?
They need a clear and obvious decision that was incorrect, and for some reason they thought it wasn't clear and obvious. But looking at it, I mean, he does do a weird thing with his leg. He doesn't fall over naturally, but he definitely does. He gets clipped. So,
well, he's tried to weave on in between two players, so he's gone to the left and then back to the right. And as he's going back to the right, the other player hits him and knocks his leg from him.
That would have probably denied the draw because, I mean, we didn't play amazing last week. Far from it, but we had a lot less shots than Crystal Palace, who are improving. There's a stat which I'll read off in a second of how they compare after 4 games from last season. It should have been at least reviewed. I don't even think it went to, like you said, it didn't go to a VAR decision. So
yeah, it didn't even go to VAR because the referee had already given the decision.
Yeah.
So what the hell's VAR for then?
No, I know.
If it can't overturn clear decisions like that.
We may have talked about before of like a challenge system. The clear and obvious, yes, they'll do. But something like this, there should be a challenge that the captain of that team can go, right, I want to challenge this. I want VAR to look at it. Whether that was you get 2 a game, 1 each half, or whatever it would be, it just adds the extra bit of the teams get a little bit back of control that they want something checked, rather than we just wait to see if the 10 people in the box are going to agree with it or not.
Yeah, I think it was Matt that brought that up. He says they do that in cricket.
Yeah, they do it in cricket, they do it in tennis. I think it makes sense, and maybe that's something they might introduce in the coming years, but again, we're only 4 weeks in, 4 matches in. It's a fun thing. Going into week 5 after a 2-week break, maybe we'll have a lot more to talk about from the VAR point of view. But
Come on, we'll move on. Otherwise, we'll be stuck on this for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly go over with where people fared with their points that they've got now compared with last season. So the biggest change is West Ham. So they've got 7 more points than they did this time last season. And Crystal Palace, which I mentioned, are 4 points better off. And I think at the first 2 weeks in the season, we thought that Crystal Palace were struggling, but I think because of every other team that we think would maybe be in the top 6, they're not there. So just looking at the top 6 in the table after week 4, you've got Leicester and Crystal Palace in there, and Everton, you're there as well. But I mean, you're all on 7 points, that is, with West Ham, but people like Man United and Tottenham are below that with only 5 points because they've only won 1 and drew 2 together. So they've both got to pick up their game, haven't they? Man United and Tottenham going forward.
There's a few that need to up the game. I mean, Watford are woeful at the minute, and they were one of the better sides last season.
Yeah, it hasn't been great. They've had 8 goals scored against them already.
They just seem to be conceding for fun.
Norwich are worse with goals against them. I think if it wasn't for Pukki, they would be bottom. Maybe his influence on the game will diminish as clubs get used to how he plays, and they may struggle to get off the bottom 3 with us, Aston Villa, which we've had some decent performances, but are the teams still gelling? Are they not? It's hard to see. Shall we go over how we did on our predictions last week?
Yeah, this is why I said I weren't sure if I was happy to be back. I don't think I fared very well, but yeah, we'll certainly go over them.
On the podcast, me and Jack gave our predictions, but outside of the podcast, as Mike couldn't make it, and Matt also sent over his predictions. I'll read those off. So from last week, going through the scores, Southampton 1, Manchester United 1. That was at St Mary's Stadium. I predicted a 1-1 draw, so that makes me a wonder star. No, 3 points for me. Jack thought it would be 3-0 Man U. Mike, you thought it would be a 2-1 to Man U. So not too far off. Not too far, no.
For that one.
And Matt thought it was 2-1 Southampton. So you're both 1 goal off, but it was a weird game, wasn't it? The Man U and Southampton game.
Man United in general are a bit weird at the minute. They're still trying to find the feet, I think, and who is best 11 and what's the best formation and how to play.
Yeah, I agree. And I hope this 2 weeks, and I mean, most of them are going to be on internationals anyway, so don't think they're going to be able to concentrate a lot on it, but at least it gives them, the coaches and everyone else, more tactical time to work through what may be going wrong. They're still an amazing team. They just need to sort themselves out a little bit.
I think their star player at the minute is James in midfield. It was a cracking goal at the weekend.
Yeah, he is. I've put him in my fantasy football team this week. Yeah, he scored this week. I think he scored last week and the week before. It must be 3 in a row. He's definitely 2 in a row. The next one was Chelsea, and Sheffield United ended up a 2-2 draw, where none of us scored points on these predictions, and we
all go for Chelsea wins.
We all went for Chelsea to win. The nearest technically was Jack with a 2-1 win to Chelsea, but you and Matt went for a 2-0 to Chelsea. So, yeah, like we said earlier, it was a surprising comeback by Sheffield United, and if it wasn't for that last minute beautiful cross and it went in, then obviously it would be a 2-1, but great result for Sheffield on the day.
Definitely.
So the next one was Crystal Palace and Aston Villa. We did lose 1-0. So Crystal Palace won 1-0 at Selhurst Park. I put myself for a win to Aston Villa. Jack put a draw. You put a draw. Matt put a draw. So we all got 0 points again. You were so close that if that was given a penalty, it may have been 1-1 in the end.
Yeah, I went for the 1-1, didn't I? Yeah. Should have been 1-1. I was robbed. 3 points.
Should we write an angry letter to VAR if you ruin my predictions? Yeah.
I don't think I'm old enough to start writing angry letters.
Oh, okay.
I'm not far off.
The next game was Leicester and Bournemouth. It ended up 3-1 to Leicester. Mike, you got 0 points again. You went for a 2-2. Matt got a point with 2-1 to Leicester. And so we got the result.
Matt got. He's not here.
So we got the result right. Jack got 3 points on this one. He actually got the score right, which was 3-1. And I went for a 2-0 to Leicester and got 1 point. So,
well done, Jack.
Yeah, did well with that one. This one's quite funny because we're so close. We're all like 1 goal off. It was Man City and Brighton. Ended up 4-0 to City. We all said that City was going to win. We've all got a point. We're all so close. I got 4-1 to Man City. Jack said 5-0. Matt said 5-0. And you said 4-1. So all 1 goal off.
I nearly went 4-0 as well.
You'll kick yourself.
I don't know. I just thought Brighton have done not too bad the last few games, and they scored 3 the other week.
Yeah.
So I thought they might nick one. So anyway.
Yeah, I don't think they played bad. It's just, again, I would say City.
Yeah, City is City. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite a struggle. The only benefit is they have got that draw in their bag, so they are 2 points behind Liverpool at the moment. So, but obviously, you and Matt, I'm sure, would love them to go above Liverpool, as it,
Well, yeah, we wanted the end of last season to end like that. Liverpool not to win it.
Yeah, the next game was Newcastle and Watford. It ended up a 1-1 draw at St James's Park. You went for a 1-0 to Newcastle. I mean, it could have ended like that, to be honest. And the stats were quite even between the two. I think they both had 13 shots on target. So it could have gone either way. So I'm sure, I think Watford had slightly less on target, but it could have been that 1-0, couldn't it, really?
Could have been.
Seeing as last week they played well against Man United, so getting in line, hoping to put some solid performances in Newcastle. So,
do you want to mention my week previous to that, where I said they'd get beat 5-1 by Spurs, and Steve Bruce would get sacked? I mean, to be fair, Spurs battered them, but yeah, Samsonite way off.
It was such an even game between them, so it could have gone either way. So yeah, you got 0 points for that. Matt went for a Watford win, 2-1. I went for a 0-0 draw, so I got a point. And Jack, amazingly, got the result right at 1-1. So he got 3 points on that one.
Well done again, Jack.
Moving on to the next one was West Ham and Norwich. It ended up 2-0 to West Ham. I'm the only one who got a point on this. I got the side right. I got a 2-1 to West Ham, so I got a point. But everyone else got it wrong. Jack went for a 3-1 to Norwich, and you and Matt went for a 2-2 draw. West Ham are doing better than they did last year.
Well, it was quite a good game. That I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, they are now 7 points above where they were last year. So hopefully they can have a good mid-table and maybe even challenge for Europa this year. So we'll see how they develop. They are a good team, aren't they? We've said it before. They should be better than they should be. So moving on was the Burnley and Liverpool match. Everyone got a point except for Matt, because I don't think Matt will ever say that Liverpool win. So every time they win, he is just not going to get any points. So I don't know why he does it to himself. But I went for a 3-1, Jack went for a 3-1, and you went for a 3-1. So we all got a point. We all went the same. So again, only one goal off. Just needed Burnley to have that one goal for us to all get 3 points. Moving on to the Sunday matches was the Blues, Everton, against Wolverhampton Wanderers. It ended up 3-2 to Everton. And surprise, surprise, the Everton supporters went for Everton win. So you obviously both get 1 point.
I only went 1-0.
Yeah, you both went 1-0. And yes, we did think that I didn't think it'd be a high scoring match. I did go for a 2-1 to Wolves, and Jack went for a 2-0. It was just purely based on how well Wolves have been. But this week, they didn't play well, and
Jack got 2-0 Wolves.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Oh.
But I think it was pure. I don't think it was based on Everton. It was more based on how Wolves have been reasonably solid, and they're quite solid at the back. So they didn't, I think that's where
That's why I went with the 1-0 for us, because they're quite solid at the back.
Yeah, but I mean, Wolves didn't play well, and you played okay, and better than Wolves, which that's why you ended up with 3-2 in the end. So yeah, 1 point to you and Matt on that one. And the last match was Arsenal and Spurs 2-2 draw, and we've got a difference of opinions again. So Jack had a 2-1 to Arsenal, so we got 0 points. Matt had a 1-0 to Arsenal, got 0 points, and me and you got 1 point each. So you went for a 0-0 draw, and I went for a 1-1 draw. So yeah, I didn't think it would be a big scoring match, and you definitely didn't at a 0-0.
No, I didn't.
I think we were surprised at the results. So it was a good match. If anyone wants to have a look at it again, look at the highlights, go on Match of the Day, and enjoy that match, because as a neutral, as long as you're not an Arsenal or Spurs fan, yeah, I think you'll enjoy it.
I think had the Tottenham-Newcastle game gone more the way I expected it to the week before, I'd have probably gone for a Tottenham win over Arsenal. But it was their poor performance against Newcastle that made me go 0-0.
First half, Spurs, if they carried it on, I've said it, I think it must have been week 3, I said that they tired in the second half, and they tired, and Arsenal, because they play nice possessive football, did a lot more shots, and really they should have edged it, but they didn't in the end. So, but the totals for this week on the predictions for week 4, we've got Matt with 3 points, Mike with 4 points, Jack with 8, and amazingly I've won with 9 points, so 1 point ahead. So I win a week, so that's good.
No, you've not cheated again, have you?
I don't know, but I'm going to go with... I'll go with no, I haven't cheated, and just rejoice in the fact that I've won. Yes.
Okay.
Right, is there anything else you'd like to speak about this week?
I mean, we can cover the fantasy football, but again, I've done absolutely dire.
I've done amazing this week. I've had a really good week.
I know. We've both played the captain card. You played it on one City player. I played it on a different City player. Yours came up. Mine didn't.
I actually didn't play the triple captain, so it's even worse for you this week.
I'm sure it said you played the triple captain.
No, just normal captain, because he scored 2 goals. Aguero, this is. So I just had a good week. So
okay. Well, I played it on Sterling. I mean, he had an all right game, but
yeah, he didn't score. Yeah, I mean, I'm just waiting for a time when Man City going to have an easier time. It should have been this week, really, shouldn't it, if I was going to do it on Brighton. But yeah, so do you want to quickly run through any changes that we've had?
Well, Jack's still sitting swimmingly on top. Nah, Salah was his best player. Sorry, it's just bad taste in the mouth. David Hunt's doing quite well. I think he was at the bottom only 2-3 weeks ago when we first started. He's now moved up into second place. He had 72 points, which was the second best of the week. His key player being Aubameyang with 18 points. Brett's dropped 1 place, which really should have the music from Top of the Pops.
And down from 6.
Yeah, down from second into third. Here's Brett with the dog and partridge. Moving up 2 places. He's Nice Beaver with Matt Salter's team into 4th. He's got 88 points, which was the best points of the week.
Oh, yeah, it's a good week, that one.
He's got a captain card on De Bruyne, who scored him his points. We've got a non-mover in 5th, yourself, Dwarfing USA, who came joint second on points this week. We've already discussed with Aguero. Just think if he had played the triple captain card.
I know. I did think, and I thought, like, oh, that would have been beautiful.
And then there's some other guy, I forget his name, sat at the bottom.
Mike Large.
Yeah, I think that's the one, yeah.
I think we have a new entry as well that we need to approve, which we will do this week, and that's for Josh Nichols. So we'll get that done this week, and if anyone else wants to join, we'll put it on Twitter, try and spam it so you can join it and start having a weekly competition. And if anyone has any opinions on the podcast, has any topics you'd like us to cover, or even, be a special guest maybe, get in contact with us on Twitter. We are at SideFootPassPod. If you leave us a message there or retweet us, that'd be great. If you want to subscribe, we'd really welcome that. We are on Apple Podcasts. Please leave us a 5-star review. So the more we can get, the more people can listen, and the more we can get community going, and hopefully include a lot more people in the topics we cover here. We're also on Stitcher, Spotify, and if you have none of these things, we do now put this on YouTube. We will be there, and you can listen to us freely. So, all right, thanks for everything this week, Mike.
No worries. I'd like to thank Jack for taking my place last week. He came across very well on the podcast. I really enjoyed listening to him, and look to have him back as a guest in the future as well, preferably while I'm here as well. I can have words with him about this 2-0 Wolverhampton.
Matt or Jack couldn't make it this week, but I'm sure they will rejoin us again in the coming weeks. And it's always nice. I've said to Jack last week, it's always nice to get everyone's opinion. And I know that he's a Liverpool fan, and you and Matt are Everton. So really, you might not like each other's teams, but it's always good to have opinions, because you all have different opinions about different things, not just your own team. So
at the end of the day, we're all football fans, and that's why we're doing this. So for anybody who's a Twitch viewer or Twitch streamer, we now have a very small stream team. We're very new. They have a separate Twitter account, which is SideFootPass FM, mainly at FM streamers. I will give shout-outs in the coming weeks for the team and their actual links. If you want to catch me, though, you can catch me at Casern Live over on Twitch, where I'm quite happy to give out other links for the other team members. We also have a Discord. You would need to pop by, drop !Discord into chat for that, and you can come on and drop any opinions about the podcast also in there. Drop us any questions, or even request to be a guest one week. I think that just about wraps us up for this week, Adrian.
That's brilliant. All right, so we'll leave it there, and we hope to speak to everyone again soon, and we will be back in a few days, maybe a week, with the Week 5 predictions, and maybe speak briefly about the international break and how badly England did.
So I've been Mike.
I've been Adrian.
And we'll see you again next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.